okay, it's going to be vacant. Why don't we list it at $4 million?
Yeah, exactly.
That's what I would do.
Exactly.
And then you avoid it.
I would say that's like a loophole, right?
Yeah.
For how long is this like acceptable to just keep something for sale?
But that's a really good point. Like, what if you just list your home and it's a loophole? Because you have proof. You can show them that MLS listing, right? It's on the market.
Trying to sell it.
Right.
Trying to sell it. It's worth $4 million.
Yeah.
That talks specifically to their pain points, like, do you hate stepping on Lego? Yep. I hate that. I wish my kids had their own space and I wasn't tripping over top of all of their stuff all of the time. I wish that I could use my kitchen and like everything would have a place. And not just like if I made scrambled eggs, all of a sudden it seems like every dish in the kitchen is out.
You're speaking to me. That's all everything like right now that I'm doing.
Right? I've lived not that long ago in that situation. Your house is renovated, okay? Like mine was not, and it was a clusterfuck of everything everywhere. But if we speak very intentionally to exactly like what you're saying your pain points are, what I know your pain points are, what mine to some extent still are, but I have 3 times more house than what I did before. And I still have some of these things.
You just have different challenges.
No, the kids put the same mess across a larger space. I went grocery shopping yesterday and I put all the grocery bags back. I put all the bags inside one bag and and I was going to put it away. And I literally went and I put some stuff in the fridge. I closed the fridge and I looked and all the bags were pulled out and spread all over the place. And I was like, oh, shit, why would you do that to me?
On purpose.
Yeah. Oh, this looks like look at the bags, and you're just like, oh, Jesus. I want to serve upsizers because I've been there, and right now presents a really unique challenge of that question that we were asking last week. Is like, do you buy first or sell first? How do you find that property that doesn't seem to be coming on the market?
I feel like that's going to be the issue this entire year. It's just going to be no supply. I find.
If you're looking to move right now, your pain points are trying to figure out what the hell is going on with pricing. Well, that's where like every single what we do for our clients is to dig in on every property before we go and see it to get a sense of what's happening in that particular pocket with that house, how much that house is likely to sell for, and then go and see the ones that are appropriate and monitor to see like how many offers are coming in on offer night, like what does our offer need to do to reflect that, knowing what's happening in the local market so that you don't overpay, because we know 5 offers doesn't mean what it did a year ago. So something like, if you put something like that, and then the next thing is like, do you buy or sell first? Here's the scenario where you buy, here's the scenario where you sell. These are all things that we're gonna look at for you personally in our meeting. So if this is something where you want to meet, no obligations, it's a Zoom call, and we can cover these things with you specifically.
Yeah, I think like even a couple buyers we've actually onboarded like recently, like a lot of people think right now that the market is doom and gloom, like it's still going down, but it's the complete opposite. It's turned 180. So it's like it's an education process. Like I think David was talking about it a little bit. Like, that price that you see is just a marketing price, and it's sometimes hard to explain to people, like, because they're like, oh, it's listed for this price. They think it's, it's crazy that it's going to go 100 or whatever over asking, right? But then we have to like always, hey, these are the recent sales that are selling, so market value is going to be in this range. So it's kind of like a learning curve for a lot of buyers right now. Especially like the market has transitioned in the last like month and a half.
Right.
Yeah, because that's the hardest part for people to understand.
Yeah.
If they're like watching what's going on in the media and stuff,
Exactly.
and thinking about the numbers,
Exactly.
and then not really seeing like week by week what's going on. So it's hard for them to believe that they're seeing.
It's like a, sorry to cut you off, Yulene, but it's like a learning process. Like they're interested in the property, and a lot of times like we're telling them, but then you know what, they still either want to see it, or maybe they don't, but then it's our job to actually, show them or educate them that like hey, when it does sell, we'll find out like how many offers it has, and we'll show them that it did sell. And in this market, it's sold with no conditions, and basically trying to prep them a little bit, right? Or just educate them and tell them like this is where the market's trending. But until they actually get out, I find that when buyers start getting out and start seeing properties, and then they start seeing what they sell for, that's completely different. It's a game changer because now they're more in tune with the market instead of just watching from your computer, right?
Yeah. And even if you just tell them, like they don't really get it until they go through
in the
it.
beginning, it's a challenge because like a lot of people, especially first-time home buyers, like, what do you mean? Is this for $799? Why is it going to sell for $900? It doesn't make sense to them, right?
I think you got to see.
You.
My take on this, and what I've always kind of recommended to people is book up, see 5 properties that hit, like just a bit above, above where you want to be, a couple that are at where you want to be, and then some below, and then ride out that one cycle. That's sort of 5 to 10 days. Let 3 of the 5 sell. 2 of them will sit. And then you can start pointing at them. And then more specifically, and this is where, I mean, I've not been properly burned by this because I do the research, I don't guess at it. But I give them my cook estimate. Estimate? I don't know what that would be. Estimate? But I give them here's kind of like how I think this is going to play out. And it's a little bit risky, right. But I am usually right because I do the math on it, and the ones that I have to preface is like, well, this one's going to determine like how many offers are on this one. That's why this is what they want you for, is to be right.
It's almost easier now too. I find it's a little bit more predictable than like it was. Like things aren't, like we keep saying, things aren't going quite as crazy. So it's like. But
it's like as schizophrenic as the prices are.
It's still selling it within market value. Exactly what you're saying. Like
we are right. 99% of the time we're right, and when we're wrong, we're low. Yeah. And I'm okay with that. And a little bit different sort of strategy than when we were like a year and a half ago, where I was like, I carry the 3, add 60%,
Add 60%.
Like it was crazy.
But it's true. Actually, even as a listing agent, a lot of times we're like, we know we should be able to get this amount, and then we'll set up certain strategies where we don't leave money on the table. But you know what? A lot of times we're actually blown out of the water. We're like, we can't believe these buyers are actually offering this.
And that, the goal was to be enough in first place that second place it wasn't given a chance. What's that number? Is that $50,000? Like, I'd rather win by 5,000.
Yeah, now I feel like those battles are closer too, right? It's like a lot of it's coming down to conditions and closing date and those little things that can break those ties, right?
Like if I priced, a property that's worth 1.1, if I priced it at 1.175, am I going to get a different set of buyers showing up to look at that property?
Well, let's say it's worth 1.1, and if you list it for like $799 versus listing at 1.175, you're going to get a different buyer because half of those people looking at the $799, they think they have a chance when they don't really have a chance at all.
But would the 1.1 buyer still show up?
If it's in their area, I think they would.
Yeah. And that's where I think the game here is that and to put this right out there in the world to hear, you need those people that think they can get it for less.
Yes. On the listing side, 100%.
You need that. To come to the plate and to have a chance. And here's the message that I would give those people that are putting in those lower offers. Keep doing it because it will work eventually. You will get a deal. But you have to be prepared, I think. You need to be prepared to put in 10 offers.
But and there's a time to do it too, right? Like if you put in a really low offer for when the market is getting hot again, you're gonna be in competition and you're gonna get priced out anyway.
My fear is always that you could be making it more challenging for your next offer if you're playing the game and you're there just to bump up the price. then the next house that comes along,
The thing is that,
potentially,
I
but
think-
it's not going as crazy as
I
it
think that's
was,
2022
Yeah.
outcome. Like now, I've seen 16 to 20 offers on
And it
properties,
still doesn't go
and it
crazy.
still
Yeah.
lands right where you like. I think that it's a perfectly acceptable strategy because we've seen houses sell for less than what we thought, and somebody came in with a low offer. There's only two or well, it happened to us where we put in what we thought was a pretty low offer,
Yeah. Yeah.
and then got it. So I would say my advice would be anybody like, listen, if we're talking like Woodville and it's listed at 850 and it's clearly not 850, you're probably wasting your time at 850 unless it's an education for your buyers.
Absolutely. I think you hit the nail on the head. Education for the buyers. Because first time out, going to see a property and they actually like it and they want to put an offer for the first time, that's the scariest thing in the world for them. So like, they're not willing to, and rightfully so, I wouldn't either, right? They're gonna maybe want to put in conditions so that it protects them, right? So they have to learn from that. Yeah. Because it takes you like what, 5, 6 like ones to lose on, and then you build up the confidence to put in a bully, right? Or you gain that confidence. So it's an education process or a learning curve.
Go off the small diving board before you go to the top.
Exactly.
Yeah. I've very rarely have I ever worked with a first-time buyer that was willing to go to the top of the ladder right from the beginning.
Never.
So 3 U.S. banks have failed. So
SVB,
so
Silicon
one is a
Valley.
Silicon Valley. So these are, my understanding is these were not insured banks. So like 90% of that it's just gone. And I saw the list of customers for Silicon Valley Bank. It's like Airbnb, Tesla, like a lot of, really not startups, like, and they, there's actual talk about like them and making payroll because that money that they had is not there anymore. I guess the first thing that I would want to ask, if I was looking at this, and I've done a little bit of research on it, but what's happening down there? Can it happen here?
Well, they have a very different banking system, right? We got like the top 5, like the big 5 banks. Like down there's all sorts of little
Sure, yeah.
banks, right? It's kind of a different
Aren't
system.
banking rules stricter here too? Like how much leverage are they allowed to do that?
I don't know. That's what I don't know.
Yeah.
And what I understand is that bonds have tanked in the U.S. in particular, and that affects the way like what they have to lend has basically gone on the negative side because they're propped up with bonds, and so as long as bonds are strong, then their like make-believe numbers on the screen all make sense. The problem is that there's not an actual enough cash. If everybody went to the bank and did a withdrawal, there wouldn't be enough money.
Well, everyone was doing panic withdrawals, right? That was the problem. But we're so closely tied to the U.S., though. That's the problem.
This is the problem that, like right now, they just did a neutral bank interest rate announcement last week.
Yeah.
But the U.S. is now signaling that like they're actually going to have to be more aggressive than they thought they were going to have to be. So like buckle up, it's going to go. And then like you and I talked about this is like if the U.S. raises interest rates and we don't, then we're dealing with a devalued dollar relative to the U.S. And then we have inflation again as a result of that because we're so like our money can buy less on imports. So unless we become xenophobic and just, insulate ourselves from what's happening there, which we can't do, I think that we're in for some interest rate hikes for the rest of the year. I think this will be our only neutral announcement.
But if the U.S. starts having more financial troubles, they might not end up hiking as much as they say because a lot of times they say something and then like they change their messaging.
Well, how is this
credibility.
bank crisis going to affect rates, right?
Well, and how far does this ripple effect go is the other question. Like, does it start affecting bigger banks? Like, apparently, there are issues at every major bank in the U.S. right now, like including Bank of America.
The Fed's already said, even before the most recent interest rate announcement for Bank of Canada, they said they're going to be increasing rates anyways. Yeah. So that they were going to be more aggressive.
Yeah. So it's something that's coming. So how does that reflect, like in terms of like, what's the advice that we're giving people that are in a position to be buying and selling right now? What's the answer?
I think.
Do you need to, it comes back to why do you want to move?
We want buyers to have the mindset of a long-term approach. You know, like if you're selling in the next 1 to 3 years, who knows? We don't know where the market's going to head. No one does. But if you're holding 5, 10, 15 years, like I'm pretty confident given like the history of how sales have gone, like the market will go up and down, but it trends upwards, right?
Right. Okay. I mean, I would agree. I think the first question is like, why are you doing this? Like, why are you thinking about doing this? Let's remove money, interest rates, the economy. Let's remove that from the equation first. Not that it's not going to be part of the conversation, because it has to be. But let's remove that and really kind of like what is happening in your life right now that's making you consider this at all. Like, what are those pain points?